Hello and welcome to another episode of the Reignmakers Fantasy Golf Show presented by DraftKings Reignmakers. And man, we've got a heck of a show on deck for us today. Gonna walk through the Colonial. I'm gonna tilt my face off a little bit about Tony Finau. We're gonna get into the Memorial, which is another incredibly stacked field, elevated event. But first, TJ is going to tell us some exciting news that's been in the works for a little bit of time. So TJ, how's it going? Interested and excited to get into some news that we're going to bring to the people ahead of the episode here today.
Yeah, great long weekend. Hope everyone had a good Memorial Day weekend for those of you that celebrate in the U.S. Another fun golf tournament with Emiliano Grillo taking it down in the playoff. I know we'll get into some of your tilt. I don't even know too much about it other than you're tilted, so that's always a good time. But as Cupe said, did want to start the show with just a quick kind of new product announcement. So over the course of this week, we are going to be launching our new brand, Blitz Fantasy, which is our suite of pack-based fantasy sports games. So some people may be familiar with those, with some of the best ball games and the Madness game and such that we have done in the past. And so we'll have more information coming on that this Thursday at our town hall. Highly recommend you attend that in the Discord. But right now, the first game that we have called Golf Pick'em is available for this weekend's tournament for the Memorial. So just a quick kind of recap of how this game works. You open up a pack. In each pack, there's going to be 20 golfers. And so prior to the creation of the packs, all of the golfers are split into 4 tiers based on the tournament odds. And so you have tier 1, which will contain the 10 best golfers. Then tier 2 contains the next 15. And then tier 3 and 4 contain 25 golfers each, respectively. So you open up your pack, you'll have 5 golfers from each tier. And then within each of those tiers, you simply pick the 3 golfers out of the 5 that you want. That then becomes your 12 golfer lineup. You then get automatically entered into the contest. Scoring is the exact same as DraftKings scoring. So you just kind of open up your pack, set it, sweat the teams over the weekend. Should be a lot of fun. Packs are available for purchase right now for 99 gold each. And then 100% of the gold that gets spent on pack purchases goes back into the prize pool. So you can go on over to the OTM website, otmnft.com/Blitz Fantasy. You'll see packs for sale there. You can head on over to the cashier and purchase gold if you do not have any already. There are going to be no monthly management fees on gold for at least another 3 months. So you just have to pay the purchase fee in order to get that gold into your account. And then you can go ahead, start opening some packs and have another way to sweat the golf this weekend. So again, we're going to get into more details of this during the town hall and also for the remainder of the week and really the remainder of the summer, because we've got a ton planned, but did just want to touch on that at the top of the show in case any of our golf heads out there are looking to get some more action, some more skin in the game. Really pumped. Cupe, Neil, and I have been playing these contests in the background, and the golf format I think is really fun and nice, simple way. And I hope everyone enjoys it and pumped to have the community out there playing some more games.
So excited for all things Blitz Fantasy, especially Golf Pick'em. I mean, I love the modern take on, the updated take, the modern take on fantasy sports, and golf as a game continues to be growing. And I'm just so excited for a different way to play golf fantasy, because I think this game is definitely unique to itself and it's been a lot of fun already. So an awesome pack opening experience, which we know everyone loves. And then you get into your strategic decision-making, which in golf, if you've been playing Reignmakers, there are tons of strategic decisions each and every week. Even if you've been out there jamming the top of the odds boards, you're definitely not always taking home the top prize. And you certainly sometimes, if you're like myself, you're not even getting all your guys through the cut at times. So yeah, excited for all things Blitz Fantasy and Golf Pick'em. It's going to be an awesome ride. So head on over there, grab your memorial packs, and like TJ said, got a lot of golf ahead of us the rest of the summer, actually the rest of the calendar year. So it should be a fun time. And interested to hear your all experience, and let us know what you think about the game. Anything else we want to cover? Blitz Fantasy or Golf Pick'em before we jump into the Colonial Recap, Teach?
No, I think that's mostly it. We're treating this tournament, the Memorial, and then probably next weekend as well, the RBC Heritage, as kind of our soft launch. And then we have the U.S. Open coming up. So that's going to be a bit more of our bigger push. So get out there, get some packs, give us any thoughts, feedback on the game. And yeah, now let's jump into some Reignmakers.
Love it. If you're out there listening on audio, jump over into the Wednesday show tomorrow. I'll have an overview, and I'll be able to click through some of the Golf Pick'em stuff and things like that to give you guys a good view. But we'll take a look at some of that tomorrow. But yeah, let's get into it. Colonial Country Club, the Charles Schwab Challenge, I thought was an awesome golf tournament. And we were talking about this behind the scenes before the show. These golf tournaments that finish -7, -8, -10, 11. I think just they put on such a different type show than the birdie fests that get up to 20, 22, 24 under par. It's fun to watch guys make birdies, but man, when the golfers struggle a bit, when you need to get your ball up and down for par, when every 5, 6, 7 foot putt matters, it just produces a lot more dramatic effects in terms of the golf for me, at least. And interested in what your thought is on these golf tournaments that have found a way to not be birdie fests and force these golfers to make some key decisions in their round and trying to figure out how just to make par and be happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. I prefer the more difficult challenges. It's not too often that we see a single digit winner, which, this is probably going to be one of the quote unquote worst winning scores that we'll see all year. But I do think it's a much more entertaining viewing experience, just seeing golfers have to make different shots, have to, like you said, get up and down to save par when they need to, as opposed to some of these tournaments that just become a pure birdie fest, pure putting contest, essentially, where, guys are shooting 20 under. What was the tournament last year where John Rahm called something a effing putting contest or something like that? So I share sentiment with John Rahm when it comes to the course setup. And, I do, don't get me wrong, I think it's good to have a variety, right? Like, you don't want every single tournament, every single course to be playing the same way. But yeah, I think in general, especially with a lot of the smaller events, they do tend to lean more towards birdie fest than towards the difficult tests. I love the setup at Colonial. Thought it was a fun tournament. Had Harry Hall, who I had literally never heard of, leading the entire way, which was also a unique thing. You had, of course, Scotty Scheffler almost backdooring his way into a playoff and a potential victory, getting an ace on Sunday. Lots of different things that were happening. Not a Reignmakers player, but Ricky Fowler with another top 10. He's been playing some awesome golf all year, which I think is just good for the sport in general. Victor Hovland was in the mix and then had a bit of a blow up on Sunday. I'm actually not even, I don't even know exactly what the heck happened to him. I just remember seeing at one point they showed him shooting and he was -2. And I was like, oh, he was like -7 before that. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on. And then nice stacked field for the Memorial coming up, which should also be another tough test. The Memorial, always one of the more difficult challenges throughout the PGA calendar year each year.
Yeah, definitely. Let's recap like the end of Sunday, because it was one. I was in the car driving home from a Memorial Day weekend wedding and was listening to PGA Tour radio. I never made my wife sit through 8 hours of PGA Tour radio, but we did it. We successfully kept it on the radio the entire way home, so that was fun. I couldn't wait to watch the end of the golf tournament because I was so confused about what happened to Grillo, on 18. I mean, on the radio, they're just talking about his ball being in this little runoff of water and it just not moving or not stopping for what seemed like, I don't know, 20 minutes on the radio.
It was a long time.
Yeah, ended up being it was a 5-minute ordeal where his ball wouldn't come to rest, ended up taking a penalty drop. had a 2-shot lead going into the hole, blocked his drive 45 yards right into this water runoff, takes a penalty drop, makes double bogey, brings Adam Schenk back into the mix, brings Harry Hall back into the mix, and then Hall blows a drive 350 yards into the water on 18, and Schenk has a 15-footer on the 18th green to win. It just felt like it was something that was going to happen. It felt like it was his time. Schenk has been, playing really good golf. He was looking for his first win, and we were kind of getting that drama. He just misses the putt, and then they go to playoff. And I got to talk about the playoff. After seeing kind of what happened, the news on Twitter was that, on Colonial Country Club, the range is, I guess, like a 10-minute venture to get to their range. So you end up warming up on number 1 tee, basically the only time you're hitting shots on the actual golf course and warming up. And there was a lot of tweets initially of this before I saw video where Griot had invited 2 kids to come up and hit a few shots. And I was just kind of confused without the video evidence, but it was true. In fact, he invites 2 kids that he just, randomly sees over there. He had already sort of hit his shots. They come over, they hit a few shots. He's literally getting ready to play a playoff, hasn't won on the PGA Tour in 7+ years. And I mean, he couldn't have been a more in the moment type of like experience for him to do that out of nowhere. And then goes into battle with Schenk on the 18th. They both have roughly like 30 footers to make birdie. Both of them miss, make pars. And then they go to the 16th hole. Griot hits an incredible shot, gets an awesome bounce, hits it to 5 feet. And then Schenk kind of blows it over top, but hits an incredible chip to make Griot, forcing him to make that 5-footer to win it. And he does to capture his second victory. So pretty fun ending of the tournament there. But yeah, it was crazy kind of listening to all of that stuff on radio and then trying to piece it together after the fact. But just a bizarre finish to a pretty fantastic golf tournament. Schenk is going to get his first win. The guy's just been playing really, really strong golf, and he's going to get that win at some point in time, I think. But pretty cool to see a guy, wait 7 years after his first victory, which I guess came 4 days after he was technically a PGA Tour member, got his tour card and won 4 days later after his first tournament, and then waits 7 years to come back and win at Colonial, which is, a country club and a place that has history in golf, and just really cool to see that happen. And yeah, the story of the week, in my opinion, was kind of just this chalk was sort of fading. If you took guys at the top of the board, many of them missed the cut. Finau was the guy for me that really kind of made me struggle in Reignmakers. Had him in my best elite lineup, had Grillo in that lineup as well, but had Finau as my captain, and still only finished 66 points out of first. So it was a little bit of a tilting weekend for me, always thinking about what would have been, but finished 58th in that tournament, and it was fun. Had Scheffler. Give us your Scotty Scheffler take, because I mean, the guy is kind of just he's just an insane golfer at this point in time. Nobody's hitting it better, but the guy is backdooring T5s, T2s, T3s. If the guy could putt, he'd win golf tournaments by 10 shots, I feel like.
Oh, absolutely. He lost 4.6 strokes putting this past weekend. So what? If you add 4 strokes onto his score, he wins by 3. And like, that's just if he's even putting. What if he putts well? What if he gains 4 strokes putting? Then he's winning the tournament by 5+ strokes. Yeah, I mean, it's just hitting the ball as well as we've basically ever seen anyone hit the golf ball. And, and he's one of the best chippers in the game. Like, he is amazing with the short game. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen him hole out with chips in big moments. He's just really struggling to find the putter. Now, another thing that I've been saying a bit too is when you're putting yourself in that good of position all the time, there's really nowhere to go but down with the putter, right? Especially with how like the strokes gained stats work. If you have a 8 to 12 footer on every hole, like it's going to look like you're losing strokes putting relative to the field, because you're 2 putting from 8 feet when other people are 2 putting from 30 feet, right? So there is certainly some bias there. We're like just looking at the stats. And it's also, I mean, you watch him putt. It's not like he's missing the hole entirely. I mean, he's close on these putts. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see Scotty go on another run like he did last year, where he's winning 4 tournaments in a 2 month period, and having some where he's just going to blow away the field, because I mean he can do everything, and just such a just naturally good at golf is basically how you describe Scotty Scheffler. Like, he doesn't have the picture perfect swing. He doesn't have the like picture perfect build that you would expect in a golfer. He's just like really good at golf. And when he makes putts, he's going to win tournaments. And yeah, I mean, it's so tough. We go back and forth every week on the who's the best golfer in the world, Jon Rahm or Scotty Scheffler. And it's hard not to say Scotty right now, right? But who knows? This week, Jon Rahm could come out and win the Memorial, and then we're going to be on this podcast saying Jon Rahm's the best golfer in the world. So it's not even really worth debating. They're both just amazing at golf, and a pleasure to watch them every week.
It is crazy watching Scotty swing the golf club. If you were kind of just a casual golf fan, if you were just aware of how good Scotty Scheffler was and you saw his swing, you might feel like there's 3 or 4 holes that go by and you might be like, is this guy's cleats working? Why is his feet doing what his feet are doing? And just to see him replicate that, swing in and swing out, and to see him gaining so many strokes with every club except for the flat stick is totally insane. Some perspective on putting. He loses 4 strokes putting, like you said. Grillo gained 7 strokes, almost 7.5 strokes putting this week. So Scotty lost to Grillo by 11 strokes on the greens this week, and -8 wins the tournament. -8 gets you into the, I guess it was -9 technically because it took a birdie to win it, but -8 wins a tournament. I mean, it's totally insane what the guy is doing with every club in the bag except the putter. It is totally, totally insane. Gained 15 strokes this week on approach. And I mean, just absolutely insane, the statistics there. But it does seem like, and I said this question of the day last week on the Wednesday show was, could you win Reignmakers golf tournaments without Scotty Scheffler? And pretty damn hard to do so. You needed him whenever he's going to backdoor a top 3, a top 4, a top 5, a top 10. I mean, at this point, a top 20 is kind of Scotty's worst outcome. His ceiling is so high and his floor is so high. It is just incredible that
he hasn't finished worse than 12th since October.
Yeah. I mean,
I just looked at this and okay. And all right, so there was 145th in there, but let's go back to August, which was the last time he missed the cut. And then his finishes from there are 3, 2, 45, 3, 9, 7, 11, 1, 12, 4, 1, 10, 11, 5, 2, 3. I mean, absolutely ridiculous.
The model absolutely of consistency.
Insane. It's like actually better than I would have guessed that it was really good, and it's actually better than I would have just kind of blindly guessed at.
Yeah. Totally nuts. Sorry. He gained 15 strokes tee to green, not on approach. He gained 6, almost 7 on approach, but 15 total strokes tee to green, -4.5 putting, like you said. I mean, just totally, totally insane. So it is wild. If you're out there playing Reignmakers fantasy golf, you got to find a way to get yourself one of Rahm or Scheffler. And if you have the ability to get both, I mean, definitely want both. But it's going to be really tough to take down these tournaments without Scheffler when his model of consistency over the course of 6+ months is a top 10 at worst. It's just totally, totally insane. So I happen to add myself a Scheffler rare this past week. Feel pretty good about it. So if you're in the game, you're you're looking for a true anomaly in terms of Scheffler missing the cut or even getting anywhere damn close to the cut line, you need something drastic to happen. And I'm sure if we rattled off Rahm's statistics, maybe there's a little bit less consistency, but the end result is Rahm probably has just as much winning equity, if not a little bit more winning equity, because of how strong his game is throughout the entire bag versus Scotty's right now. So, those two guys are, every week I write the Tuesday article and I have to put the obligatory sentence of, if you have Jon Rahm or Scotty Scheffler and they're in the field, you put them into your lineup and you put them into captain spot, because overthinking it is what you're doing if you're doing anything else other than that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, in hindsight, I mean, it's easy to say now, but, even thinking ahead towards the rest of this season and next season, like, I think we're seeing something different with Scotty and Rahm right now that we haven't seen in a while, like arguably since Tiger. And now, granted, it's just been 1 year, but at this point, they're both over like a 2 full year sample size of that consistency. Because kind of what we've mostly seen is guys have flashes where for 3 months or 6 months or maybe a year, right? They're firing on all cylinders. But I don't know that we've seen this level of consistency, not only weekend to weekend, but year to year at this point. And my kind of original or like baseline philosophy on golf is that the variance is extremely high and anything can happen on any given week. But I think Scheffler and Rahm are disproving that in a way that they kind of deserve to be in a tier of their own in terms of that consistency and in terms of really the need to have them in your collection in Reignmakers golf if you want to take this seriously and you want to have a chance to win. I think I saw someone say it in Discord at one point, but I think they had bought a Scotty Scheffler and they were just like, it's so much fun to be with Scheffler than against him, right? Otherwise, you're going to find yourself, 2-3 weeks every month, just like looking at the leaderboard and being annoyed that Scheffler's in the top 5 again. You're better off just spending the money and having the guy in your collection.
Yeah, that's true. I think you need some elite golfers in your collection to really like win and get the best sweats out of Reignmakers. And like you said, there's a very clear tier of their own that is Jon Rahm and Scotty Scheffler. So if you're playing consistently, if you're wanting to get sweats out of this, I think the investment is certainly worth it because we still have 2 majors ahead of us. We still have plenty of elevated events ahead of us. We still have the entire FedEx Cup playoffs ahead of us. Scotty Scheffler and Jon Rahm are going to be battling for the FedEx Cup playoffs this year. That's just the facts. And I would not be shocked if it came down to those 2 guys on the back 9 at East Lake in Atlanta in a very, very top heavy DraftKings Reignmakers event, because I believe there will only be like 30 or 40 golfers in that field. There are going to be people that have Rahm and Scheffler. And if you want to win that tournament, you're going to want to have at least one of those guys, if not both of them.
Because they're going to get the strokes lead heading into
correct
that too, right?
Correct.
Like, yeah. So it's like not only would they be the favorite in the field straight up, but they're going to be coming in with an advantage. For anyone that's maybe not familiar with how the FedEx Cup works in that final tournament, basically based on where you're ranked, you kind of start with a quote unquote head start where, Scheffler or Rahm are starting at, I don't know, 8 under or 10 under, and other guys are starting at 1 under.
Start at 10
like
under. The leader will. I think it's like basically it tiers out like by the top 20 or so, and everyone sort of is like within a stroke or 2 after that. So I mean, you need to finish at the top of the FedEx Cup playoff, at top of the FedEx Cup rankings, and that's why that will matter. And it will matter for finishing position most likely for that tournament in terms of fantasy scoring. They won't get credit for 10 birdies or anything like that, but it will matter in terms of the finishing position for that event. So it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens. And then, as I said, you needed a Scheffler to win these contests. You needed a Scheffler, or you need to have basically the stone cold nuts, which if I look at War Prider and War Prider's 4th entry in that elite contest, he had Emiliano Grillo and Adam Schenk, both in his lineup. 6.8% ownership for Grillo, 3.7% ownership for Adam Schenk. And he also has a Mark Hubbard that had 0 ownership. It was probably the only lineup that plays Mark Hubbard, finishes T9th, and finishes it off with Mav McNeely and Aaron Rai, both who make the cut, both who play the entire weekend. They play relatively good. Aaron Rai finishes T12. McNeely finishes a little further down the board, plus 3 for a T52, but still good enough when you have, the top 2 guys who go into a playoff. You need literally the top 2-3 guys to win when you don't have somebody like Scheffler who's going to be really high owned. So really, really nice team for War Prider, and a really fun sweat this weekend. I noticed
Hubbard shot 69 4 times, and I believe he was the only one to get the 4 rounds under 70 bonus.
Oh, good call. Yeah, I didn't actually see that.
Yeah, so that's why it makes sense that he like jumped up from a DraftKings scoring standpoint and would be like in the optimal.
Yeah, and the leader had Hubbard as captain, so instead of getting 5 points, gets 7.5 points for the 4 round under 70 bonus. So yeah, that's a little bit of a nuance there with how DraftKings scoring works, and the all rounds under 70 really unless it's a mega birdie fest or unless it's a par 70 golf course, that's usually when these things come into play. Par 70, if you stay under par each and every round, which was quite difficult to do on Saturday and Sunday, but Hubbard managed to shoot -1. Actually shoots -1 every day of the tournament, which is hashtag nice if you're out there as a 69 fan. But yeah, that's how you take down these tournaments is you have a leverage play off of Scotty and you happen to hit, 3 guys in the top 5 basically from that standpoint. So pretty nice lineup from Warprider. Anything else that stuck out to you in terms of golfers or things that you wanted to hit on besides the Scotty breakdown and what we saw from everyone else in the field?
Not so much from a golf standpoint. Was looking at the marketplace a bit. We had some more packs come out next week, so I believe we've seen some more deals out there now, or some cheaper prices, because as expected, you introduce new supply, prices are going to come down as a result. So I think it presents a good opportunity, especially ahead of this tournament this weekend, to add some new guys to your collection, with the Memorial being a designated event, with the US Open coming up, 2 more majors beyond the US Open, or I guess what the US Open and the Open. So 2 more majors left to play, FedEx Cup. I imagine we're gonna hit that tipping point soon of where it becomes tough to invest in the marketplace just because of the fewer tournaments remaining. But I think at this current point in time, there's still plenty of meat on the bone, and we're really in the heat of things right now. And I think we've also seen the game play out a bit here. We know it's certainly not easy to win, and so yeah, it's just a good time where, as you're comfortable and as you see fit, to be checking out the marketplace, or just deciding that you don't want to. But yeah, just wanted to touch on marketplace stuff a little bit, because I think some of the but at the same time, like, there's still people that have Scotty and Rom, like, they just don't want to sell them, right? Rightfully so. So I don't know that you're ever going to get like a true deal on those guys, but it also could just be like, any price on those guys is a deal, because yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a deal from just like a pure monetary standpoint, right? It's just like a good buy from a enjoying the game standpoint of, I'm going to have more chances at it, and I'm going to feel like I'm having a better time because I have a better chance because I have Rom and or Scheffler in my lineup. So that's also how I look at it a bit too. It's not just about the money. It's about, how do I like maximize the experience of playing DraftKings Reignmakers for the dollars that I'm spending.
I think one other thing I'll add here, and I'll get into a little more of this on Wednesday if you guys all have questions on things like this. But one thing that I have focused on and have seen happen is people keep sort of leveling up from core contests into rare as these pack party contests are out there, and as packs are available, or as they pull some good cards from packs. And one thing that sticks out to me from way back when, week 1 of Reignmakers, was trying to play at a level that you're really comfortable with. I am probably playing a smidge over my head in my bankroll comfortably and the elites, but I now have enough pieces that I've been adding some rare golfers that are bolstering my elite lineup. So I added a Scotty, and it just made sense for the investment and the amount of investment that I had into Reignmakers. And I'm trying to take that lens that I want to get the best sweat out of the money that I've put in so far. And I don't think you can really get tons and tons of equity back out with the marketplace right now. And I think we always knew that. And if there's a window or 2 to sell, you want to hit those windows, and you probably want to be a little earlier to selling than later, because the prices can just change drastically. A pack drop like we had last week, where there were legendary cards in a $99 pack, brings the market down in a significant way. And I understand it both from the operator side and the people that are playing the gameplay. There's really no exactly perfect method for this. So I think you want to think about adding good golfers, if you're adding the likes of a Rahm or a Scheffler, you want to add that tier where you could play them up. If you want to add a rare to play up at elite, and I'm not going to captain them, but that's okay. I'm still getting the sweat out of it. I'm still getting the enjoyment out of it, and that's going to give you more access to the potential upside of a lineup hitting. And then if you're in rare, you want to add a Scotty and a Rahm core, and you want to try to split them. You want to try to get a couple of lineups together with those kind of guys. So I think that just makes the most sense. It's still, I don't think you need to have them as captains. Of course, if you have them and you want to play them as captains, awesome. Or if there's a week where your elite portfolio doesn't look great, and then you can captain a Rahm or a Scotty in rare, like that's awesome. I think you have the ability then to take down the top prizes. So I've been thinking about like what lineups are live and what constraints people are facing at each level for how they're leveling up and what their lineups look like. And I think it's okay. It's okay for me. In my opinion, I play my Scotty up and I play my Patrick Cantlay up this week from the rare into the elite. And that makes my rare lineups worse, but that's okay. I'm playing for one lineup mostly. I'm playing, 75%, 80% to sweat one lineup and sweat my best lineup, because I think that's what it takes to take down these Reignmakers prizes. And the other lineups are, you're embracing golf variants, the lineup that wins the elite contest: Mark Hubbard, Emiliano Grillo, Mav McNeely, Aaron Rye, Adam Shank. On Thursday or on Wednesday night, I could have seen that lineup in our Discord and someone been like, should I enter this in pack party or should I enter this in, the guaranteed contest? And I think you wouldn't have been wrong either way with that lineup ahead of the tournament. It just so happened to me that variance struck and this person had the lineup that ran up the board. So that can happen in golf. It hasn't happened a ton this year where the chalk has really failed, but when you get 5-6 guys in the top 15 all miss the cut, all of a sudden percentages change a lot for who has 5 of 5 golfers through the cut. And when that happens, if you have 5 of 5, you can easily run up the board with things like streaks, birdies, the all rounds under 70, like Hubbard had for this war rider guy. So I think that happens, and that's golf variance in a nutshell. All right. I think that covers it for Colonial. Let's get into Memorial. Played at Muirfield Village, has been played at Muirfield Village since its inception. This is Jack Nicklaus's version of Augusta in Ohio. Always wanted a tournament himself to put on, to run, that was invitation only, that felt like the Masters, that was a bit smaller than a normal PGA Tour field. And that's everything that this tournament is. 120 golfers, all by invitation only. Really, really stacked field, and it gets elevated status. So if you got an invite, you'll want to be here. I think some of the only players that aren't here are guys that are prepping really hard for the US Open, maybe guys that have played too many weeks in a row, or if you happen to be Max Homa and your sister's getting married this weekend. I know Max had a good tweet that said he'd want to be there, but he's going to go hang out with his sister during his wedding. So some crazy stuff like that. But really, if you're getting an invitation to Memorial, you're playing a really awesome second shot golf course. Probably will play pretty similar to Colonial, where you can actually spray it a bit more off the tee, but your second shots just have to be so precise to really small and undulated greens. So I see around the green play coming into the mix a little bit more here. And yeah, if you run the numbers, Scotty Scheffler is going to be somewhere near the top of the board around the green play and iron play, which nobody is going to grade out better than Scotty in those couple of categories. So interested to see where the quote unquote chalk of the week goes as we have more content come out there and as we start to build lineups. But it's going to be a tournament where you're going to need a couple of guys near the top of the odds board if you want to feel good about your lineups. The odds board is Scheffler and Rahm sort of by themselves, plus 650 for Scotty, plus 700 for John Rahm. Course history, master himself, Patrick Cantlay, plus 1,000. Rory, Xander, and Hovland after that, rounding out the under sub 2 plus 2,000 odds. Rory at 1,200, Xander at 1,400, and Hovland at 1,800 as opening odds. TJ, who do you like this week? What are you thinking about? And what's tickling your fancy for Muirfield Village?
Yeah, there's a pretty clear top 3 in the guys that you mentioned: Scheffler, Rahm, and then Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay's course history is just pretty nuts. T3 last year, won 2 years ago, although that was the year when John Rahm 100% would have won, but had to unfortunately withdraw in the 4th round, but he did
had
win that
COVID.
year.
What was it? A 6-shot lead that he had or something
Yeah,
insane?
he was up by a mile.
Yeah, he
yeah.
was
I mean,
going to win the tournament.
Rahm's. So yeah, Rahm's course history the last 3 years is T10 last year, basically would have won in 2021 and then won it in 2020. So, Rahm, it's just a course that really fits Rahm's game, and Cantlay as well. He's won it 2 of the last 4 years. 4th place back in 2018. Worst finish in the last 5 years is a T32. So, and not surprising, right? It's a course where you want those guys with the all around game, guys that, as you already mentioned, can good around the greens, can get up and down for pars. So those 3 for sure stand out at the top of the board, and the odds reflected accordingly. As we get a little further down, I think there's no, I don't think there's any like clear slam dunks in the mid range, which I think is kind of nice. I think they all have things that you could look at as good and things that maybe not so good. I don't know. So Sung J M, for example, right? My like intuitive thought is this is a Sanjay kind of course. We like him on more difficult courses where it's a lot about just, hitting fairways, getting on the green, 2-putting, getting up and down when you can. And Sanjay, of course, coming off a missed cut last week. So maybe not in the truest of recent forms in people's eyes. So maybe people are fading him a bit. And then, you also look at his course history, finished T10 last year, which makes a ton of sense and is what I would expect, but then missed the cut the 2 previous years and finished T57 the year before that. So it's kind of like, okay, well, game fits the course theoretically. Course history, for whatever reason, not quite matching up. Matthew Fitzpatrick, I kind of feel the same way about. He got 3rd place here back in 2020, but then has missed the cut each of the last 2 years since. So that's another one where it's kind of, not totally a slam dunk, totally clear here. Siwoo Kim has some decent course history at this spot. I mentioned course history more than I typically do because, like you said, it's been played here every year. And to me, there's a couple courses and tournaments that are just like course history. You have to at least be aware of it. And I think this is certainly one of them. It was also, what was it, 2 years ago where they played this course twice. And the one time it played, like, what else did they play it in?
Yeah, I can't remember the event that it was. Was it like a President's Cup or something like that?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a major. It wasn't a major, but it was.
No, it wasn't a major.
Think.
It was some sort of President's Cup.
Playing really
like
hard. They like juiced it up even extra, and it was. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but it was just kind of a crazy. I think they played it back-to-back weeks too, or maybe 1 week off in between. But it was just like the craziness of what you can do to a golf course that like 4 days apart, they can play totally different. So I just always remember that when I think of this course. But yeah, I mean, basically, look, you want guys that have the all around game, and guys that, I think I'll be, like you said, looking at around the green stats a bit more than I typically would this week. And that's, Victor Hovland, I feel like, is somebody that we like to talk about on the show, but I don't love him this week because of that thing. Like, that's where his struggles typically come, and his results at this course reflected. He's made the cut every time, which Victor Hovland kind of always makes the cut just because of his ball striking, but hasn't finished better than 47th. So you really do need someone that has that around the green game. And those are just a couple of the guys that I'm looking at. Thigala, I find interesting here as well. He's been playing pretty decent and is kind of shaping up to be someone who is good around the greens and can make the putts when he needs to. His off the tee game is kind of the worst part of his game right now, but maybe can get away with that here. So I've been keeping an eye on him. Yeah, he's 96 in this field in strokes gains off the tee last 50 rounds, which is surprising, but has the rest of the game to round it out. So it's going to be a fun tournament. So yeah, I know I threw some names out there, but that's just kind of my initial looks at the board, who I've been checking out.
We'll hold TJ's feet to the fire by the end of the show. We'll get a winner's pick from him, but great. I mean, I love the analysis. I think it's a really fun or a really torturous week to build lineups, because I think when you look in this mid tier, you're absolutely right. You could find things you love about each and every one of these guys, but you could find things you absolutely hate about all of these guys. And I actually, you picked out somebody, Sanjay M. I really struggle on Sanjay to find things that I hate about Sanjay M, but he went over to Korea and won a tournament the week before the major, comes back from the major, comes back for the PGA, misses the cut again on a hard golf course last week. So he's got 2 missed cuts. I think maybe the travel, maybe a lot of golf, not sure exactly what it is, but this is going to play as another really hard golf course, and you're not going to get any easy shots. You're not going to have that many shots where you can kind of just lay it in there. You're going to get 10, 12 feet for birdie, and it's going to be kind of simple. You're going to get undulated greens, so it's going to be hard putting. It's going to be, putting the ball in the right spot, thinking about your miss, and I'm just not sure that his, couple of missed cuts right now are looking great, but maybe it's the perfect kind of week for Sanjay. That's the best thing about the mid tier, as you can kind of just always talk yourself out of and into guys
Hideki
really
too.
quickly.
I mean, Hideki's got to be another one that this is a Hideki course. I know he's had some injury whatevers, but like his results have been fine and he's playing well. And this is a pretty good course from him. He has some decent enough history, finished 6th a couple years ago. So, yeah, that kind of mold of golfer, I think, is really what we're looking at this week. And it's been pretty consistent with what we've been looking at the past couple of weeks. Like we talked about, when you have, I think the mold of golfer when you're in like a difficult field, difficult course is simply different than a birdie fest, where like you just want the guys that can bomb it out there and make as many putts as possible. So not too dissimilar from the prototype we've been looking at last week at Colonial, previously at the PGA Championship. We'll be talking about a lot of the same guys in 2 weeks for the US Open. Like Memorial, I kind of think of as like a US Open light prep in a bit.
Yep,
And
I agree.
yeah.
And I think that Colonial is trying to do more like the Memorial has done. I think that's just kind of what these golf courses are seeing this. The PGA Championship did it. Colonial is doing it. Muirfield Village has done it. So I do like the way things shape up. A couple other guys I'll mention, and I'm going to dig into these guys a good bit. But at first look, and I'm interested in your take here. You mentioned my guy, Siwoo Kim. Love his course history. He seems to play really well around here. Two other guys in this bottom end mid tier that I think are very, very interesting plays, not only for this week, but for going forward. No one seemingly giving Adam Scott any credit for his play this year. Yes, he hasn't had elite winning upside, but Adam Scott, tee to green, has been really, really, really strong. And I think he's a golfer that has pedigree and likes to play these hard golf courses. He plays them well. He's always around at Augusta. He's always around in majors. His putting is always a question, but like, he seems to be settling in based on what I've seen. I think he feels really comfortable, feels confident. And yeah, I don't know that he can win this golf tournament because of Scheffler, Rahm, Cantlay, guys above him, but I think he's a perfectly viable fantasy option. And I think his price is fairly solid in terms of Reignmakers. But there's a guy I like, maybe even a little more. I don't have him in my portfolio and I'm a little bit sad about it, but I know you like this guy, Shane Lowry. I love Shane Lowry's form here. I think his recent form is coming around. He was sort of like in this slump that maybe he's found himself out of, or finding himself hitting his way out of. He's, I mentioned pedigree a lot and guys that are like professional golfers, because I think that matters at tournaments like this. You need to know what it takes to make 2 or 3 bogeys in a row and know how to get on the cut line and play well. And I mean, rookies just don't do that well. And there's more and more quote unquote rookies on the tour playing these elevated events every single tournament. And I'll take a guy like Lowry, who has just played in so many of these kind of events, knows how to play golf, where you said you hit an approach shot to 15 feet. Yeah, you give it a birdie run, but you're happy to just knock in a par or two. And I could see Lowry, playing, if this golf tournament plays hard, if this course plays hard, I think that plays better for Shane Lowry. So I like Lowry a good bit. And I was looking at his pricing, $19 for a rare, and his elite must have just got bought up. It was under $100. I think it was $98 low ask. Looks like it's 110 right now as of the recording this. But I like Lowry as a guy who's going to play a lot more events, going to play a lot more of these elevated events, and someone who has some solid upside this week, I think.
Yeah, $19 is a great price for him at the rare tier. So fully on board with Larry and someone that you're gonna, be able to look to in the US Open and the Open as well later down the line here. So I like that as a nice value buy for this week.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess the only other couple things I'll mention: Mark Hubbard gets into the tournament late. I believe Aaron Rye also gets into the tournament late with some withdrawals. Guys who've been playing pretty good as of recent. As I look down the board, this will be one of those weeks where it's pretty tough to pick long shot winners and long shot guys that shape up fantasy wise. When you get past this mid tier, you can just find tons of things that go wrong with golfers. So I'd be looking at your portfolio and just kind of being happy with playing the guys that you have in your portfolio after the mid tier, and just hoping you strike variance on the right side of it. When that happens, you can do a lot of good things with golf variants if they happen to make a cut, and then you're getting points on Saturday and Sunday. So nothing really stands out too much to me in this long shot tier. As always, the Tuesday article, I'll pick out somebody who I like with pretty long odds, but I think you can always find something wrong with some of this game. But yeah, look for more from me today's article that'll be out later today for a long shot pick. Anybody you like beyond the mid range? I know you're not a specialist when it comes to these long shot guys, but anybody that stands out to you that you like?
Let's see. I'm taking a look now. Chris Kirk catches my eye. Don't mind him. Brian Harmon is kind of always someone in this range that I like. Not really a high upside guy, but somebody if you're looking to round out your five and get someone who has a good shot at making the cut. I like Harmon for that. Someone who's good on around the greens, scrambling, that kind of thing. Eric Cole missed the cut this past week, but he's someone who has performed quite well and also has some really strong approach and around the green stats. So he's not very great off the tee, but 6th in the field around the greens, 19th in approach. So another value guy down there. So those are some people on my radar. I do agree. I don't see anyone from the bottom of the board winning, although, hey, Billy Horschel won last year. So anything can happen. Although, and I've been a Billy Horschel guy in the past, but I can't be a Billy Horschel guy right now. I mean, shout out he doesn't got it right now. Like it's been a while since he's got it. So I cannot, in good conscience, tout Billy Horschel right now. I know some people were talking about him and all his funky swing and pre-shot routine.
I mean, his putting routine literally looks impossible to repeat. That's how uncomfortable it looks like. But, sometimes you're just trying to catch lightning in a bottle, and maybe Billy does it at a course and at a place that he likes and has had success at. We have seen it happen before, but I totally agree. Based on pure statistics, based on pure data, pretty hard to back Billy Horschel right now, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes. All right. I think we've done a pretty good job talking about the entire board, recapping Colonial, giving you some insights on Memorial. It's time. TJ, give us the winner. He's got 2 in his belt so far. A little bit of it's hard to hit golf winners, guys. It's impossible to hit golf winners. Give us the golf winner. The chat's gonna roast him if he goes too high up the odds board. So that makes it a little hard. He's trying to find somebody.
We've been trying to balance it out the past 2 or 3 weeks, and that's why we're not winning. And there's a guy in this field who's had success at this tournament in the past. He finished 50th at the PGA Championship, so he's been sitting at home stewing on that, watching this other guy, Scotty Scheffler, and being like, I'm better than him. I'm the number 1 golfer in the world. These guys are on podcasts talking about this Scotty guy like he's better than me. The king, Jon Rahm, comes back with a vengeance, gets another win at the Memorial. We're going chalk, ladies and gentlemen. Jon Rahm, your champion this weekend. I can't pass up on him in this spot. And I really do think that this is a tournament where picking a long shot is harder. So I will, figure like once a month, give myself a pass to go chalk on the winner pick. And I'm going to elect that once a month here and go with Jon Rahm as the winner.
I don't think I could say anything better to close out the show than TJ talking about Jon Rahm's 50th performance at the PGA Championship. So that is going to do it for the recap and preview show. I'll talk to you all tomorrow for the Wednesday lineup builder and listener question show. And until then, build your lineups, head on over to our site, otmnft.com, get them together, get ready for another awesome golf tournament this week. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. Later on.